Hello students, welcome to this video tutorial on how to draw a minion using Microsoft Publisher, part 5. Alright, so the last thing we did was we created the arms and hands. So what we're going to do is let's duplicate this page like we've done in the previous videos. So let's go to Insert, Duplicate Page. Now we should be on page 5 down at the bottom. Okay, so probably the most distinctive part or feature of the minion are their eyes. So you need to decide whether your minion is going to have one eye or two, because we need to draw the goggles that all minions wear. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to draw a minion with two eyes, but you can choose to have a singular eyed minion. Okay, so you need to decide that. Okay, so what we want is we're not going to use the rest of the body. We're just going to use the rest of the body to gauge or to determine the proportion of our face and our goggles. So what I want to do is I want to zoom in on the facial part, okay? And you need to decide how far or the placement of these eyes or eye, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of map things out on the face, and then maybe I'll move everything over. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so let's go down the left-hand side and let's click on the oval tool. Now in order to get a perfect circle, hold the shift key while you're drawing the oval. Okay, so hold the shift key and then draw out, and that'll give you a perfect circle. Okay, so what you need to do, like I said, is you need to map it out. So we got to do a little bit of trial and error here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to kind of put them side by side to see if the goggles are large enough. Okay, now it would help if we actually had a picture of a minion. So maybe what I can do is I can go to internet here, and I can do a Google search. And it should be pretty easy to get a picture of a minion. So let me type in minion and let me go to images. Okay, so we can see that the goggles are very large. Now the goggles need to be large because most cartoon characters have large eyes. That's what makes them look so friendly. So we can see that the goggles actually go almost to the edge of the minion's face. So if I go back to mine, then I can clearly see that this is too small. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete one of the eyes. I'm going to click on the oval tool again. And this time I want to draw a larger circle. And I only kept the previous circle there so I would know that this one was larger. So I'm going to delete the previous circle by clicking on it and then hit the delete key. Let me position this circle in place, and let me copy that circle, and let me paste that circle, and let's see how they look. Okay, so I would say that I'm getting closer. Okay, all right, so let me delete that circle. Let me keep this one for reference. I'm going to try a third time. Like I said, I'm getting closer. So let's position this over. And again, once you've drawn a circle, you can expand it or you can decrease it. You can compress it by clicking on and dragging one of the corners. Now, when you do that, make sure you hold the shift key so you get the perfect circle. Okay, so let's see what this circle looks like. So let me copy and paste. Okay. So that is not bad. Actually, that's pretty darn close. Okay, so now I want to make sure that they're perfectly centered. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on, first let me line them up. So I'm going to click on the first circle, and then I'm going to hold the control key. So now my cursor has turned into with a plus sign, and let me click on the other circle. So what it's doing is it wants to create a group, but I'm not quite ready to create a group yet. So let's go up to Arrange, and let's go to Align or Distribute, and let's choose Align Middle, just so that I can line up those circles from the middle. Okay, so now I know that they're perfectly level. So now, while they are still kind of almost, they're highlighted together. I was going to say they're a group, but they're not because I haven't clicked on this button here. So I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and this is going to be very helpful in just moving my eyes and positioning them so they're the perfect distance from the edge of the minion's face. Okay, now what I want is I do want a little tiny overlap in the center. You can have the circles just touching, or you can have the tiniest overlap here. Now what I can do is I can actually click on one of these. I can deselect. I can click on one of these circles, and then I could press the arrow keys, and I could pull this to the left once, and then I could click on this circle, and I could pull this to the right. So I have even less overlap here in the middle. Okay. All right, so now let me see the position in terms of the height of where these goggles are. I want to make sure that they're not too far up on the minion's forehead, and I still want to leave room for a mouth and such. Okay, so let's have a look. So you can see that the goggles actually go quite high on a minion. We can see here one that has only one eye. It's quite high as well. So let's go back to mine. Let me minimize that. So this is actually pretty high in the head. Now what I can do is I can click on both of these. I can click on the first circle, hold the control key, and then click on the other one. And then together I can move them either slightly up or slightly down. So what I did was I moved mine up slightly. Okay, now that both of them are highlighted, let's make them a little bit thicker. So let's go up to the border or line tool, and let's make them 1 point, just so that they stand out a little bit. I don't want them to be as thick as the outline, but I do want them to stand out a little bit. Okay, so the rest of this tutorial is we're just going to draw a series of circles that are getting smaller and smaller. So let's zoom in. Now that I know that this is a good size and it's a good position on the face, I can get really tight. Okay, I'm going to have to get really tight. Okay, I might even go a little bit further. Let's see how far this is. Okay, maybe that's too far. Let me go back up to 200. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create the inner border of the edge of the goggles. So I'm going to click on the circle tool, and I'm going to hold the shift key, and I'm going to draw a circle. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that that circle is slightly smaller than the previous circle that I have drawn. Okay, now you can decide how thick you want the goggles to be. So if I go back here, and you can see that, it is a certain degree, it is a certain thickness, not too thick, but not too thin either. So you need to decide what you're comfortable with. Okay, so if this circle maybe is too big, then again, I can click on this control point, holding the shift key, and I can bring it in. Then what I want to do is, using my arrow keys on your keyboard, I want to position it perfectly inside the first circle. Now once you've drawn this circle, then all you need to do is copy, make sure that it is highlighted, copy, and then paste. And then I'm going to move this one into position and get it close, and then what you can do is you can use your arrows to get some very precise movement of those circles. Okay? Okay, so that represents the goggles. So now what I want to do is I want to start drawing the eye. So let's go to the circle tool again and hold the shift key. And what I want to do is draw a circle that is slightly smaller than the inner edge of the goggles. So if you look at a picture of a minion, there is a tiny space inside the goggles where we could see some of the minion's yellow skin. Not a very large circle. So I mean a far distance. So it's a very, very tight ring there. So let's make it as close to the edge of the goggles as possible. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to color this in with a pencil crayon to match the rest of the minion. So that's actually, the distance is too great. So I'm going to click on a corner, and I'm going to hold the shift key and make it even closer to that previous circle. Okay, and then I moved it into position using my arrow keys on my keyboard. So that's pretty good. That's pretty tight in here. That's a pretty small ring. So now that I've got that circle done on one side, you know what to do. Edit, copy, edit, paste. Let's bring this over, position it roughly in place, and then I can use my arrow keys to get it into the proper spot. Okay? So that is now the outer edge of the eye. So before we go in and create other details of the eye, what I want to do is I want to clean up or fix up the goggles. So let me now zoom way far in. So what I want to do is I want to eliminate this overlap or this touching of circles here. Now we've used this technique in all of the tutorials so far, so I think you know what's coming. Let's click on the rectangle tool and let's draw a box so that we can hide that overlap. We're going to change the outer border to no line, and then we're going to fill it in with white, basically just painting over it. Now if you have to position or move that box up or down, do so with your arrow keys, because we're zooming into such a small area that you need that fine precision. Okay? All right, so that takes care of that. Okay, so let me zoom back out. So what we're going to do is we're going to now create the straps that kind of go behind the minion's head. So this is why it's very important that we kind of have the sides of the head as a reference point. So I think we can use the rectangle with rounded corners, or we can just use a rectangle. Let me see if it works with a rounded rectangle. So what I want to do is I want to create a box that goes through the middle here. The middle of the goggles lines up with the middle of this box. And then I want to cut off a little bit of the arch here, and then I want it to go a little bit wider than the minion's head, because when you have a strap on the side of your head, it's actually wider than your head. So what I can do is I can actually make it a little less, so that it sticks out a little less. Okay, so how about something like right there? Okay, now again, you can position this box slightly downwards or slightly upwards. So I'm actually moving it down because now it seems like the corners now are matching here against that circle. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to move it behind the circle. So let's see if we can do that. So let's go to Arrange and let's go to Order and go Send. Let's try Send backward, and then we might have to do it a couple times. All right, so that actually went too far back, didn't it? Okay, so I got another idea. So let me just edit, undo that. So what we can do is we can bring this circle forward. So let's click on this circle. So I clicked on the outer circle because only the outer circle is going to be affected here because this rectangle only cuts over the outer circle. So I'm going to click on the outer circle and I'm going to go to Arrange, Order, and let's see if we can bring this to front. Okay. All right. So that didn't work. So what are we going to have to do here? Okay. So this is a little bit complicated. So I want you to click on the innermost circle. Actually, what we should do is we should, okay, so we're going to click on the innermost circle on both eyes. So that's the circle of the eye. So I'm holding my control key. And then I'm going to click on this center circle, center rectangle. I apologize. And then let's click on this ring, and then this ring, and then let's go to the other side of the goggles and click on those rings as well. And now that we have clicked on everything except for the strap here, I wonder if we can bring that forward. So let's go to Arrange, Order, and let's go Bring to Front. Okay. All right, so I know what the problem is. So what we have to do is we have to color this circle white. So let me deselect. Okay. So I'm going to color this circle white. I'm going to click on that circle and then paint it white. Okay. Now the problem is it covered all of the circles. So now let's go arrange, order, send to back. All right, so I'm going to undo here. Okay, so we're kind of brainstorming as we go. Okay, I got an idea. Let's try this. So let me zoom out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on all parts of this goggle structure. So I'm going to click on the outer circle and then hit Control, and then I'm going to click on all of these other circles. And then I'm going to click on the rectangle. Okay, so let's group all of these. And then I'll deselect, and let's see if I can now grab this whole structure. Okay, so that's probably what I want to do. Oh, I forgot this rectangle here. Okay, so let me try that again. Let me undo. Okay, and then I have to make sure that I click on this little rectangle because that's an important part of the group, right? Okay, so let's group the objects and then let's move this over here. We actually kind of want to work on this away from the face. So I'm going to move it all the way over here so that it's away from the face. Okay, so let me zoom in. This is turning out to be a lot more complicated than I thought. Okay, so here we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to ungroup it. And now all the parts should be separate. Okay, so let's see how we're going to solve this. So let's click on this rectangle and then let's send it to back. Order, send to back. So now it's technically at the very back. Okay? Okay, let's click on this circle, the outer circle, and let's paint it white. And then arrange, order, send backwards. Now, one ring should show, and let's go to arrange, order, send backward again to get the other ring. Now I think that solves the problem. We've got all three of our rings and we've got this rectangle, this rounded rectangle behind the outermost circle. Okay, so now that we've solved that together, let's deselect. Let's click on this part of the strap. Let's copy it. And now let's put it on the other side. Paste. And I'm going to put it over here. Okay. So now we kind of have to do the exact same thing with on this side as what we did over here. So let's first click on this rectangle and let's send it all the way to the back. So order, send to back. Let's click on the outermost circle and paint it white inside. Oh, and look, for me it worked. Now, if you have to send this one back, if you have to go order and then send backward, then do it. Okay, so I got lucky there. It looks like it kind of remembered what happened on the other side. Okay, almost done. So now we want to make sure that these two straps kind of look like each other. So what we can do is we can click on this strap and then hold the control key and then click on this strap. And we can use this trick again. We can go to arrange, align, and we can align the bottom or we can align the middle. Let's just align the middle. Okay? All right. So now let's make this a whole group. Actually, before we do that, let's actually work on the eyes. I forgot about the actual eyes. Okay, let me zoom in. Okay, so let's click on the oval tool and hold the shift key. And let's draw the eye. So I want to show you which part we're drawing here. We're drawing the outer rim of this colored portion. Okay, it looks like most of the minions are brown-eyed. Okay, but I'm sure that you can be as creative as you wish. Okay, all right, so that circle is not very large. And then what you have to do is you have to create the dark spot inside of the eye, and I'm going to hold the Shift key. Okay, and then I'm going to place it right there. Now you have to look at some of the minions' facial expressions to see where that small dot is. Now it looks like it's mainly right in the middle, but again, you can play around with it, okay? Depending on what kind of expression you want the minion to have. Okay, so let me go over here and let me move it down and position it right in the center with my arrow keys on my keyboard. Okay, so let me zoom out to see how that looks, because you can't really tell unless you've zoomed out. Okay? Okay, so what I want to do is I want to click on this outer ring and then hold the control key and click on the inner ring. And let's make that a group. If you like the way it looks, let's make it a group. And then what I can do is I can go edit, copy, edit, paste. And then I can position the other eye in the right spot. Okay, try to get them lined up. And again, you can line them up. If you want them totally lined up, you can click on this group, hold the control key, click on this group, and go to arrange, align, and you can align the middle, you can align the bottom, it doesn't matter. Now we're going to go in and color these with pencil crayon or marker later. We're going to color all of these lines. Okay, so I just want to make sure that all of these lines here are 1 point. Okay, so what I didn't do is I didn't actually change all of these lines to 1 point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on all of the lines. I noticed that some of the lines were thin. That's what got me suspicious. So let me click on all of these circles and make sure they're all 1 point, because when we print it out, even though they're small, we want to be able to see them. So I'm going to click on these and change them to 1 point. And same with the straps as well. 1 point, and then I'm going to click on this and 1 point. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now what I want to do is I want to create a group for the whole thing, the whole goggle and eye structure. So I want to drag a box around everything and click to lock it as a group. Okay, so now the exciting part. Let's see how this looks when I move the whole group into position. And again, what we want is we want those, if we've done it right, we want the strappy parts to go just a little bit over the edge of the face. Now don't worry that this part, the edge of the face or the edge of the head, shows through the straps. That's okay, because we're actually going to move this away and print this as a separate unit. Okay, so let's zoom out and let's get a look at this face. And again, you can position it up or down. And that looks pretty good. So depending on whether you've drawn a one-eyed minion or a two-eyed minion, this is kind of the look you're going for. Now, once you've zoomed out and you realize, hey, you know what, my eyes are too small, you can go back in and change them. But what I would suggest is you move the group out of the face first, unlock it, and then go in and adjust it, and then lock the whole thing again. Okay, so this ends this confusing tutorial. Thanks for sticking with it. We'll see you next time. Bye.